our last presenter rounding up the evening tonight is Tim Brookes. Save the writing, save the culture. Tim.
Thank you. I'm not actually going to say anything about this. This is just here to prove that I actually do the things that I say I do, because, of course, who can trust a slideshow these days? All right. Fire in the hole. So, I can't see what's going on. Oh, there we are. Yes, so 13 years ago, I began carving endangered alphabets. I began carving pieces of text in writing from cultures that were themselves endangered. And this was my way of trying to draw attention to them. Having carved them, I then painted them. You can tell this photograph was taken 13 years ago because A, my hair is not white, and B, if I had such bad posture now, my neck would be killing me for the rest of the week. This was part of an exhibition that I did, my first exhibition, which actually was mounted in Winooski in 2010. And there were 13 pieces of text from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And this is the Samaritan script, which was so in danger that at one point there were only 4 families left that were using it. So my credo is really from the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, where it says indigenous peoples, which really means everybody, have the right to use, develop, transmit everything, including their writing systems. And I should point out that even though that declaration has been passed, no country in the world observes it. One of the first projects I got involved in was in Bangladesh, where a number of indigenous groups in the hill tracts have been surrounded by the military and cut off and forced to be educated in the national language rather than their own languages. So this is a carving that I did from the UN Declaration in one of the indigenous languages, Chakma. I sent it out there and it was put up on the wall, and that's when I realized that art is also signage. That when these people see their own writing for the first time in their lives, it gives them presence and authority. And Champlain College students and I created this 6-language dictionary for children in the hill tracts, 4 indigenous languages and Bangla and English. And now there are 17 schools there, which are mother language schools, where the kids are learning in their own language and their own script, instead of literally being beaten for not paying attention when they couldn't understand what the teacher was saying. Then I started realizing, wait a second, I'm doing all this stuff with indigenous peoples overseas. What about here, right? What about our own? And so I began working with a number of Abenaki people, and this was a card that I was asked to make, their statement to the world: we are still here. Many of my students at Champlain believed they had to be extinct by now. And so I started doing carvings in Abenaki and then donating them to the Abenaki tribal centers around the state. I didn't know there were tribal centers around the state. They are very, very low profile because, of course, they were the victims of genocide, and the women were victims of forced sterilization in the 1930s and 40s. And this is me up in Missisquoi. In Swanton, presenting a carving to the Missisquoi band. And then I worked with a brilliant young woman of Abenaki extraction to create this illustrated dictionary where each page is not just a word. By the way, that the words were chosen by an Abenaki after-school youth group, but also illustrate kind of the way of life as they see it. So then people began asking me, well, where can I find out about these extraordinary writing systems and their cultures? And I said, well, there really isn't anywhere. This is stuff that I'm finding out as I go along. This, by the way, is from the Philippines. And so I created this online atlas of endangered alphabets, where you can go and you can click on the Google pin, and you know how that stuff works, and learn about these various cultures, because every script bears the history and the geography and even the climate of the culture that created it. Another project I'm working on is the Red List of Endangered Alphabets. So we're trying to document every writing system in use in the world today and assess to what degree it is active or threatened. Speaking of threatened, this is a young boy who created this protest poster in calligraphy when the Chinese announced in 2020 that Mongolian children in China were going to have to learn Chinese rather than Mongolian. And that was so powerful. What it says is a foreign language is a tool. Our language is our soul. And so I carved that and I gave this to the guy who is single-handedly trying to run an information center about what's happening in Inner Mongolia from New Jersey. And so to work against that, we started creating a tabletop game. And the cards that you can see here are all taken from Mongolian culture and Mongolian mythology and history. And the game is called Ulus, Legends of the Nomads. And there it is. The game mat is like a representation of the nomadic life. You actually move around it with the seasons. And those things there that look like bones are in fact bones. They're sheep's ankle bones or ankle knuckles that are used throughout Asia. That's all I have time for right now, except to say that we are, as always, desperately in need of support. But I'm going to leave these here, and anybody who wants to come up and see this stuff, I then promise I will talk about it. And this has been 6 minutes and however many seconds of a 9-hour talk, and I thank you for your attention.